that I would keep my remarks short and smooth to honor Kenny Dahl's stature and his haircut. Sorry, Kenny. I was put up to that. But hey, look at good afternoon to everybody, and thank you all. Thanks for coming. And I know and I appreciate that everyone's taking time out of their busy day. But I think it's important, and I know you do too, or you wouldn't be here, to honor the 36 years of dedicated and faithful service to our nation that KD has spent as a humble servant leader of the United States Army. And he has selflessly led our soldiers, those soldiers that are represented today on the field before you, the soldiers of the Old Guard, the soldiers of Pershing Zone, the soldiers of the Salute Battery, who every single weekend, every single day, every single night, 365, 24/7, they bury our dead over at Arlington. They honor our fallen at the tomb. These soldiers in front of you and the soldiers that Kenny has led in both peace and war represent all that is good about America. So how about a round of applause for those in front of us? And I want to thank, in particular, the Vice. We're very, very fortunate to have a teammate, or I'm very, very fortunate to have a teammate from the Holy Land, from Boston, as the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, Jim McConville. So thank you, Jim, for carving out some time and being here. And I want to thank, where's Class of '82, by the way? Where are you? Go home. I want to thank our first captain, Mick Nicholson, and his lovely wife, Noreen, for being here today. And Mick, as you know, just completed an incredibly lengthy tour on Freedom's Frontier in Afghanistan. Did an incredible job leading our soldiers, and not only U.S. soldiers, but international soldiers as well, as part of the coalition. I think still 42 nations fighting the fight there. We just recognized and memorialized once again for the 17th year in a row 9/11 in a variety of ceremonies in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, up in New York City, and here in the Pentagon. That war continues, and for the last 30 months or so, that war continued under the great leadership of a class of 1982 teammate, and he was your first cadet captain. So how about a round of applause for Mick Nicholson? And I also want to thank Carter Ham for being here, former commander of U.S. Army, or U.S. AFRICOM, also a commander up in Mosul in a tough fight that occurred up there, one of our great leaders. I want to thank you, Carter, for being here, and he's currently, as you all know, the president of AUSA, so thanks, Carter, for honoring us with your presence. And because you demonstrated unbelievable weakness on the first time that I called you out, I want to hear once again from the select few of 82. Well, a little bit better, but still pretty weak. But you'll have opportunities for a redo here shortly from class of 1980. So, hey, look, the Army's a family affair. And that's no different in Katie Dahl's family. And he comes from a family of service with his father, Ossie Dahl, who served in World War II in the Merchant Marines and got out of the Merchant Marines after the war, after doing those runs to Murmansk across the North Atlantic against Nazi submarines. And he joined the Army in the 1950s, and he ran a bunch of different types of jobs throughout the time in the 1950s, but he is no longer with us. But Kenny, I want you to know that your mom and dad are here in spirit. They're extraordinarily proud of you. I am personally aware of your humble beginnings and how you grew up there in upstate New York. And I know that Ossie and mom and dad would be incredibly proud of where you are today. So I want to just recognize Kenny's parents, because he wouldn't be the man he is today without them. And of course, as luck would have it, he had an incredible father-in-law, Celia's dad, Colonel retired Pedro Flora Cruz, who graduated from the University of the Philippines in 1938. And as you all know, shortly thereafter, in 1941, the Japanese overran the Philippines while Pedro was a cadet at West Point in the class of 1942. And when he graduated in 1942, he had no country to go back to. It was occupied Japanese territory. So he decided that he would help the war effort and join the 1st Philippine Regiment of the United States Army, and he deployed to the Pacific, fought in the unbelievably grueling campaign up the east coast of the New Guinea island against tenacious Japanese defense. And during that fight in New Guinea, the 1st Philippine Regiment was attached to MacArthur's Special Forces, who fought. They were known as the Alamo Scouts at the time, and they did a lot of your deep reconnaissance, small unit operations, raids and ambushes to lead the conventional forces in the Battle of New Guinea. He was an amazing man, and he realized that after graduating from West Point that he needed to up his academic game a little bit, so he went to a first-class decent school there in New Jersey called Princeton University. And I commend him for his choice. Although he did not choose to pursue a very difficult degree like, say, political science, he actually earned his degree in nuclear physics from Princeton. He then went on to command a battalion in Germany, commanded the Jungle School in Panama, and retired as a colonel after 30 years of service out of the United States Army. So to both Ossie and Pedro and both your parents, both Celia's parents and KD's parents, again, they are here with us in spirit, not in person, but they are unbelievably proud of not only you, KD, but Celia, you as well. And I just want to really celebrate their service and an entire family of service in both your families. And there's a few others who have some service. Another graduate of Princeton University, Anthony. Where you at, Anthony? Where's the judge? Can you stand up so everyone can see the judge? So we know that we don't want to bump into him. He is a judge, a district judge in Alexandria, Virginia. And Jamie is also here, Celia's cousin. He lived and worked in China for many years as a member of CNN. So where are you at, Jamie? There you are, CNN. So you can report the news on the judge after the conclusion of this ceremony, and we would appreciate the true news. So that would be good. Hey, look, perhaps, in my view, there's no harder job and sacrifice for those of us in the military than for those who stand and wait for their soldier. And in that case, we've got an incredible example of tremendous patriotism in not only Celia, but the girls. But Celia first. Celia is not only an Army spouse who has done all the hard work and volunteering that Army spouses do all across the globe, but Celia, as you all know, was a distinguished soldier in her own right, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. And many times she was in combat, and KD was the one at home. And other times it was reversed. But Celia had an impressive record. She, too, graduated from West Point in the class of '82. And as you know, that was weaker than the first two. But anyway, as you know, she retired just last year. And Celia was the first Filipino-American woman to ever graduate from the United States Military Academy. And we're very, very proud not only of that, but the fact that she was a medevac helicopter pilot during Desert Storm, where she then later, 10 years later, deployed during Iraqi freedom as a division medevac officer, not only doing staff work, but also flying with the 34th Infantry Division. She went back to Iraq again as the Aviation Security Cooperation Officer at OSCI in Baghdad in 2016. And Celia has many other distinguished parts of her resume that I won't recall all of it today. But Celia, we all want you to know that you're a remarkable woman, you're a remarkable officer, you're a remarkable mom. And we are so thankful for your service and standing by KD all these years. And what's even more remarkable is that between the two of them, they have a combined 80 years of service to our country, if you include their entry at West Point in 1978. And Celia's been with KD. I don't know how or why, but she's been with him the entire time. In fact, they've been married for 35 years, and they'll be celebrating their 36th anniversary in December as retired General and retired Colonel Dahl. So thank you again. And their romance, this is true, I got this from a reliable source. It's actually amazing what you can find on the internet. Their romance started with a really bad movie called It Came from Outer Space. And for some reason, Celia, in a moment of romance, decided to offer KD a Starlight Peppermint, which apparently has been a tradition ever since. So KD, you have tremendous opportunity in the future to join the United States Space Force and clean up your breath, so that's great. But for both of you, thank you. Thank you for a life of service. But as hard as it is on those of us in uniform, and as hard as it is on parents in general in service to our country, the far greater sacrifice for all of us is really borne by our children. And that is no different with the Dahl family, with Allie and Madeline having seen not only Dad go off to war, but Mom and Dad go off to war at various times throughout their young lives. And yet, they've grown up resilient. They've grown up as two beautiful young women who have had tremendous success in their own right. And Allie is now 29, and she's a screenwriter in Hollywood. Pretty soon, she's going to make the big breakthrough and cross the $1 million mark in income out there in Hollywood. And we can't wait to see that $1 million flow back right in to KD's wallet. And Madeline is also really doing well. At 25 years old, graduate of Northeastern, and she's now a cardiac nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital, also in the Holy Land, and she is a die-hard Red Sox fan. So thank you both. Thanks to both of you for your service and your sacrifice. You know, very few officers ever get to be a general of any rank, and even fewer earn the privilege of wearing 3 stars, the rank of a lieutenant general, and that's the same rank that Ulysses Grant wore when he commanded the Union Army of the Potomac. That's the same rank that George Patton wore when he was warring across France with the Third Army. 1982 saw 5,893 officers commissioned as second lieutenants. Only 47 of them ever became general officers. And of those, only 11 ever made it to lieutenant general. If you do the math, that's incredibly small, and for those of you who went to West Point, I'll help you out, it's 0.0018% chance. And just to put that in perspective, that would be as if you this afternoon, without practice, on your first swing, hit a hole-in-one. It's the same percentage. It's the same percentage of making lieutenant general as it is your likelihood of hitting a moose driving from here to Alexandria. And there ain't no mooses, in case you're wondering. Well, there may be, but they're two-legged. So, but it's really difficult, is the point. And Kenny has proven it over and over again. And you ask why? How did Kenny ever make Lieutenant General? How did he arrive at this station in life? And I would argue that there were two fundamental reasons. One was his competence, and the other was his character. He has absolutely shined in some of the most difficult assignments we have to offer, starting with the United States Military Academy Class of '82. Now, hey, wait a second. So, for the class, I understand that one of Kenny's claim to fame in the Class of '82, according to Siri, Kenny was allegedly the captain of the 1982 lacrosse team. Is that true? Okay, and I understand, I think, that there are 1982 lacrosse members here. Is that correct? Could I have you all stand up to be recognized? Where are you at? Stay standing, stay standing. We're not done yet. Hang on. Wait, I'm trying to see you there. Okay, so all of you lacrosse players from West Point, stay standing. And I understand that in 1982, in the spring, you all went to Florida. And I understand that one of you was duly arrested. And I understand that that person is still here. And there's a warrant out for your arrest in Florida. So could I get those that were not arrested to sit down? There's one man standing. Can I get that one man to report to the judge, please? Oh my God, look at those guys. So that's true, sort of true, that they did go to spring break. It wasn't one guy that got arrested, it was 13 of them. And KD, as the team captain, had to go out and bail them all out of jail. And there is no record of it, not that we know of, but I was able to talk to the chief of police down in Orlando, and I was able to verify the entire incident. And supposedly, they reported that they weren't cadets at West Point, that they were midshipmen at Annapolis. So well done. Well done to all of you. But if you look at KD's competence, not only was he good at getting his teammates out of jail, KD was unbelievable at the knowledge and skills and attributes required of a soldier over so many years. And you see the bio in his records there and in the program as a fish chief starting out in Germany, and then battery command over in Korea, and XO at Bragg, battalion command out in Hawaii where I first start meeting KD, and then brigade command at SIL, and then he's my DCGS in the 10th Mountain, and he's a DCGS over there at US-4A in Afghanistan, and the National Support Element, DCG and I Corps, and of course, culminating as the commanding general of IMCOM. In all, he had 36 months of combat time, almost the entire time that it took for the United States from Pearl Harbor to VE Day. He commanded a total of 110 months, about 10 years, almost a third of the entire time he has spent in uniform, has been wearing the green tabs of a commander. And of course, he did many other jobs. He taught at West Point, and he served down in the Pentagon, in the bowels of the Pentagon, in the engine room, and he did many, many other jobs. KD Dahl knows our Army. He's seen it in peace and war. He's seen it overseas, and has seen it in the garrisons of CONUS. And he's excelled at every position he's ever done. And at IMCOM, his most recent job, in that job, he touched the lives of every single soldier and family member of the United States Army. And he led a workforce of 50,000 soldiers and civilians, managing over 80 garrisons around the world. Every single soldier and every single family member has been touched over the last several years by KD Dahl and his leadership. He has provided all the services, the facilities, the resources, and indeed the readiness platforms in Europe, the Pacific, the Middle East, and of course here in CONUS. He's been in direct support of TRADOC and AMC and FORSCOM, and he's working closely, or was working closely, with the stand-up of Futures Command. KD Dahl's competence, and I can attest to this firsthand because we have served together so many times, is off the charts excellent. He is a problem solver, a team player. He gets results and he makes things happen. But that's what we expect. We expect that of a general officer, and frankly, that's the entrance ticket. But in my mind, what distinguishes K.D. Dahl is also his character. He's an individual of tremendous character with tremendous integrity. He's got a spine of titanium steel. I'm personal witness to that sort of character, and when we were together in Hawaii, when he was a battalion commander and on the joint staff, when he was down in the engine room, and then as the 10th Mountain and over in Afghanistan, multiple tours, and in I Corps and then at MCON. I can attest that K.D. Dahl cares deeply about soldiers and their families. And K.D. Dahl does not serve for K.D. Dahl. K.D. Dahl does not care about himself. He only cares about others. He cares about others in the present, and he cares about the future of our Army. You never hear K.D. Dahl say, I, me, mine. You always hear him say, we, the team, us, and ours, the words you would expect from a lacrosse captain at West Point. He's always been an honest broker. He's never been afraid to speak truth to power, and I can tell you firsthand that he never once hesitated to tell me I was screwed up. But above all, more than anything else, K.D. Dahl has never forgotten his roots in upstate New York. That K.D. is humble, and he's accomplished many things in his career, and he's got lots of medals on his chest. But he doesn't beat his chest. It's never about him. He understands that. He understands that in today's world, in today's society, we see too many people beating their chest. We see celebrities and politicians and generals and leaders of all type who think it's about them. And they don't understand the simple concept of humility. In ancient Greece, they called it hubris. And the antidote to that is humility. And K.D. Dahl takes his dose of humility every single day. He's never forgotten upstate. He's never forgotten the value of hard work that his dad taught him. He's never forgotten service to others. He's never forgotten that from dust to dust we came, and from dust to dust we all shall return. People who have worked with Kenny Dahl always describe to me his deep sense of humility, teamwork, and his servant leadership to others. So KD, you've had a very long and successful career. You've demonstrated yourself to be a soldier and a leader of tremendous talent and unwavering leadership for 36 consecutive years, and 3 months and 17 days, by the way. You've suffered through wartime experiences that few will ever know. You've made 21 moves and been in the field for countless hours of training. You are the consummate true professional in my view, and you've demonstrated incredible dedication to our country and our Army. So on behalf of everyone here and those who couldn't make it here, we all want to wish you and Celia a happy retirement. We know that you've placed your goods in storage and you're taking the next 2 years off. You're going to do global travel, so we would all ask that when you get to Hawaii, drink a cold one for us on the North Shore. Be careful of the big waves. Don't go swimming when you're at your age, please. But we look forward to seeing you again on the backside when you get back here in Virginia on the East Coast. But no matter where your travels take you, KD, I know you're a Yankees fan, but I want you to root for the Red Sox. Promise me you will do that. But KD, seriously, your contributions, they don't end today. They're going to continue to see you as a soldier for life. We will always see you and Celia as soldiers for life. And you need to know that your legacy is going to continue in our Army well beyond today. Many, many years from now, what you have done, the soldiers that you have led, will grow up to higher ranks, and they will always remember that they once walked with a giant who was only 5'4" and had no hair. Sorry, KD. But look at, seriously, on behalf of everyone here, Kitty, everyone here loves you, that's why they're here. And Holly Ann and I wish both you and Celia the best. And we know that your service to the nation is a great loss that you're retiring, but we know it's well-deserved. And we want to thank you on behalf of the entire American people. Army strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Dahl.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for coming. It's Chief, thank you very much for taking your time. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on in the Army, General McConville as well. Mick, welcome home. God bless you. I'm so proud that you're here joining us today. I've got some friends, speaking baseball, since General Milley brought it up, I knew he would, he always does. I do have some great friends here from the National League, and because I'm from New York, you know, I'm a big Mets fan in the National League, but on the American League, I'm a Yankees fan. And so I'm not going to root for the Red Sox, sir. And General Milley rarely brings up the Red Sox when I'm wearing my field uniform, because in my cargo pocket, I always keep my Yankees banner, and I pull it out, and he knows I have it, so he doesn't usually bring it up. Today, he knew I didn't have my cargo pocket, but he forgot that I go second, so. Well, so I just couldn't resist that. I just couldn't resist that. So distinguished guests, family and friends, ladies and gentlemen, Celia and I thank you for taking the time and making the effort to be here with us today, particularly given the disruption caused by Hurricane Florence. There are many family and friends from out of town who had to change their plans, and we pray that they weather this storm okay without any significant incident. I want to say that throughout my career, I have relied on an old book, and I have it here in front of me. And Chief, I'm going to leave this one for you, because we spoke about it last week. I got this one, and I'm going to leave this one with you, sir. But it was written in 1950. It was conceived by General George C. Marshall, so that portrait's particularly meaningful to me. It's nurtured by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, and it was developed by S.L.A. Marshall. And in recent years, I have carried it with me, as it never fails to offer sage counsel. So what was today's counsel? Today, the book says, upon being commissioned in the armed forces of the United States, one incurs a lasting obligation to cherish and protect their country, and to develop within themselves that capacity and reserve strength which will enable them to serve its arms and the welfare of their fellow Americans with increasing wisdom, diligence, and patriotic conviction. This is the meaning of their commission. It is not modified by any reason of assignment while in service, nor is the obligation lessened on the day an officer puts the uniform aside and returns to civil life. Having been chosen specially by the United States to sustain the dignity and integrity of its sovereign power, an officer is expected so to maintain themselves and so to exert their influence for so long as they may live, that they will be recognized as a worthy symbol of all that is best in a national character. Celia and I have spent all of our adult lives believing this and dedicating ourselves to it. So as we